Well, good morning to you and warm welcome back to another week on my plot. A lot of work going on at the moment. It's that glorious time of year. May has really come good, and and from having a flooded plot for 2 months, the ground is now baked dry. The difference I think between last year and this year is that last year by this time we were well into what I would consider drought, and the water butts were running dry and we hadn't had rain for a couple of months. The difference here is because we had such a wet spring, if you break the hard crust of the ground, underneath there is still a lot of moisture, which means lawns at work are growing frantically, and gloriously it means the crops are doing well. Of course that also means the weeds are doing well, and this time of year it's all about weeds, because if you can't control the weeds they will swamp your crops. So I've already been here about 45 minutes, the sun is just coming up and I've already had the hoe going for half an hour and I've got a lot more to do. And of course the earlier you can chop the heads off the weeds the better it is, because the last thing you want is the weeds to, you know, flower, drop their seeds and it all goes mad again. So yeah, it's a glorious month. It's been a fantastic week. I've got lots done. I've managed to catch up with work after our week away, so everything is running smoothly, and we'll have a look around in a minute. So thank you for those who've subscribed. Give it a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and we'll have a look around the plot, see what's going on. Well, on the corner where I parked my van, this is the raspberry. I have one good raspberry plant that crops, the rest have all been failures, and this was one of the leaders that ran off it. Chopped it out, planted it here last year, and it looks to be doing well. Leading you on to my one resident dahlia plant, which has come back up. Back in the autumn I didn't dig it up, I put a bit of compost over the top of it once I chopped it down, and I put a dustbin lid over it. And even with all those cold temperatures in December, that seems to have done the trick. And you can see I've put some canes around with some string. I need to put another higher level of string up so that it grows into its restraint, rather than trying to restrain it once it gets big, if the slugs let it. And the sweet peas that I put here by the picnic bench are doing well. Already had a picking off them and taken them home. Happy wife, happy life. I have to say, even though the cut flower bed is in its infancy, there's a lot of colour on the plot, and those roses on the arch, they're still the highlight of the plot. I am having to start to deadhead now, so you know they've peaked, but you know for the couple of weeks that they've been flowering, it's stunning, and they will reflower later in the year. I have had to top the pond up with a bit of water, because the level was decidedly lower, but it's an absolute joy. It's full of colour, full of interest with the tadpoles that still don't seem to be growing, but I love it. These Enviromesh beds are very successful. They're full of cauliflower and broccoli, and this Enviromesh really does the trick. But it is a real pain when you have to lift it on one edge, put the hoe underneath and hoe through, hoping you don't chop off the brassicas. And in fact, if I lead you down, I have a courgette called All Green Bush, doing very well there. It's definitely the leader so far. Now these onion beds, you may remember if you're a regular, last year Cheryl complained that the onions were way too big. So could I grow smaller onions? So I've planted them a lot closer together, and I accepted back in the spring that it would mean I'd have to hand weed. Well, it's all right accepting it, it's another thing doing it. And the ground is like cement. So I'm going to water this bed today and hopefully get a trowel through, which is going to prove a bit of a challenge here. We'll see. Anyway, the onions are developing nicely. This smaller courgette is a yellow fruiting type called Soleil. Definitely grows slower, but hopefully we'll get the rewards later. And this is the bed I'm doing currently. It's full of weeds, and I'm not going to be able to rake them out. I'm just going to chop them off and they'll wither and die back. And I put the final row of peas in yesterday, so that's all the peas we're growing, but it looks spectacular. Of course, last year, because of the drought, they died off and yellowed very, very quickly. So I am watering them for all I'm worth. It's a joy to see all these lovely tiny little gooseberry fruit forming. And again, they need plenty of water as they form and swell. And yesterday I put in my cosmos in this trough in front of the tool shed. Now, I did this last year and it was very successful. In fact, last year, by the end of the summer, I couldn't stand here. They were so voluminous. It's hard to believe looking at them now. But if the slugs don't eat them, I'm hoping for a good display this year. And those tulips have come from the pots at home. I've put them in here and I'm just letting them die back before I pull them out and leave the bulbs in the soil. These second early potatoes, Estima, which were a bit of a panic buy on my part, are doing okay. I've ridged them up a bit this week. I'm very happy with the progress. And over that side is the main crop, which you will remember I'm planting every 3 weeks. I'm going to slightly alter that plan because the seed potatoes that I haven't planted yet are sat in my tool shed, and it does get mighty hot in there, so I'm going to plant another row in there today just to make sure they don't burn off, rot, I don't know, but get them in the ground. Well, for better or for worse, all my tomatoes are in, and of course they were in on the last episode, but they're doing okay. They're all tied into very sturdy canes. I've made sure I've nipped out any side shoots, and I'm going to keep a very close eye on them. But so far, so good. As I said, I'm loving this rose. Truly stunning. Of course, there's 2 of them. I can only imagine what they're going to look like in a couple of years when I've got them trained all along this tunnel. I'm particularly enjoying this part of the allotment this year. Since I last saw you, I've planted the 2 teepees of cucumber la diva. Then the kestrel potatoes have been earthed up, the ones that survived. And then there's Principe Bourgeois tomato, which is a bush tomato. I've never grown a bush tomato before, so that'll be interesting. And then of course the rows of kestrel and main crop potatoes in those tubs, and then the carrots. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this part of the allotment. Well, the fig is finally in leaf. Glad to see that has survived. We're cropping these strawberries. We've had some lovely ones off it. But if one of these strawberries is touching the ground, the slugs will have it. And then the pumpkins. I've put a row there, and a row there. And the theory is that I will make them grow across and cover this sheeted area to keep the weeds down. How easy that proves to be will remain to be seen. And I've cropped and used the comfrey to make feed. And then let's go and have a look at the leeks. Right, well, I've managed to weed and hoe between the leeks, and I've lost a few. I've got some more growing, about another 40 or 50 growing, and they're about the same size as these, so I'm going to put them in today. So in a minute I'm going to water this ground thoroughly, then make the holes, and then fill in the gaps where there are some, and then continue with this piece of ground which is still vacant, and fill in the leeks. I wasn't very successful with leeks last year, and we missed them, so I'm hoping to do better this year. Well, that's all my leeks for the year in. I've just counted, and it's roughly a bed of 10 by 10, so I've got approximately 100 leeks. If they all grow, and actually some of those holes are multi-sown, so it might be a bit more than that, that'll be very good. I said last time that I should count how many tomato plants I've got. I really should know. I've just done it. It's 53 tomato plants on the plot, and I've got about 15 in the garden and the greenhouse at home. Now, of course, who knows what this summer holds. Some of them, not all, but some of them are blight resistant, crimson crush, and we'll see. But we had a fantastic crop of tomatoes last year because of the hot, dry summer, and we'd hope for the same this year, because I think we've just about finished using all the tomatoes and the sauces that Cheryl made and froze. So it was really good last year, and I'd hope to repeat it this year, but who knows. And the other thing that's happened this week is the black fly have arrived. You know, when you know something, it's a generally accepted wisdom that when your broad beans get to a certain height and they put their flowers on, that's the time to nip out the top of the plant, which is the succulent new growth that the black fly love. I know that, and I didn't do it. And I walked past the broad bean plants this week, and black fly. So I very quickly cut off all the tops. I think I got most of it, but there are still some black fly on the bean pods themselves. But I've also noticed quite a few ladybirds, so hopefully they'll sort that out for me. But yeah, schoolboy error. It's another fantastic day. Well, from modest beginnings, very pleased with that. Cheryl will love the sweet peas. She'll eat all the strawberries, and the rhubarb is for pudding. I guess some of those broad beans will be frozen, and so the process starts again. Very happy with that. Well, I'm finished for the day. Very productive, lots of hoeing and weeding, and a small crop that you saw, or a small harvest. And the plot's looking good. There's been one other person up here today. So I'm well positioned as we start to crop. And just a footnote on the asparagus beetle. After thinking, oh, you know, it's going to be serious, every day I've come up here, I put my glasses on and I study the plants, and I've been picking them off as I find them. Yesterday I popped up here, I didn't find any. Today I found one, and I can't see any eggs. So I suspect that that's just like everything else. It's a pest, but it's manageable with a little bit of effort. I will be here next weekend on the Sunday. So thank you for watching, thanks for subscribing, and all being well, I shall see you next weekend. Take care, look after yourselves, bye for now.